welcome to 360 Sports, where today we hold a tribute show for Colin Wells, one of our former producers, and we're talking basketball. As the WNBA season came to a close and the NBA season is just around the corner, it's time for our conversations to hit the hardwood. Let's start with the headlines and the aforementioned WNBA championship going to the Las Vegas Aces for the third time in the last 4 years. A'ja Wilson cementing herself as one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Now, do we think the Aces can continue this dynasty, or is somebody coming to challenge their throne?
Well, it's already a dynasty, and in my opinion, if you have A'ja Wilson, you're competing for championships year in and year out. She had a 31-point performance in the closeout game. That just goes to show how her effort was this playoff run. 27 points, 10 rebounds, all-around performance on the defensive end of the floor, too. 2.1 steals, 2.5 blocks throughout the playoffs. She just dominated throughout, and you saw it in that WNBA Finals series.
Yeah, not to mention the game winner in Game 3, which ultimately proved to put that series away.
Yeah, I think they're not going anywhere, like you said, as long as they have A'ja. But, I mean, it can't continue for that long. I mean, like we said, they've won 3 in the last 4 years. That's pretty nuts. I see them maybe getting one more at most, too. But, yeah, it's pretty crazy and unheard of and fun to watch as well.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys said, it's going to be pretty tough to keep that up. Basketball is a constant moving game. Teams are always going to get better. They're always going to improve. They're always going to add more talent. You got to look at the other talent in the WNBA, like Caitlin Clark. The Fever will be up there eventually. I mean, A'ja Wilson is amazing. She's obviously the best player in the WNBA. But you got to look. Their top 4 players, I believe, are hitting the free agent market pretty soon. You have Wilson, Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray, and Jewel Lloyd. Retaining those 4 players is going to be hard to do, but it's going to be crucial to keep at least most of them if you want to keep the title window open.
Maybe they'll get a little Vegas luck.
Yeah.
Be able to keep some of those players.
Absolutely.
Hey, we talk about no state income tax when it comes to hockey. That's the same thing, and you're rolling it over into basketball. But it is a bit of a loaded field, I feel like. You obviously have the Mercury, who just went to the final. You have the Lynx that have been on the cusp the last couple of years, have a perennial MVP candidate. And Afisa Collier, we talked about, the Fever a little bit, and then a New York team that won the title just last year. So,
Right.
And do any of them maybe challenge the Aces, or is it just going to be more of the same?
Yeah, I think if they're at full strength, I think any of them can compete with the Aces. You saw what the Phoenix Mercury did. They were in some of those games in the finals. They just couldn't finish the job.
Yeah, I think the Fever are definitely going to be a competitive team as well. I mean, we know they got a superstar on their team too. So I think they're definitely a team to watch out for, same with New York. But I think, this Vegas Aces team is just really good.
Yeah, from what I've seen in the WNBA, it's the big 3 of Vegas, New York, and Indy. And, the Chicago Sky are on their way up too. You got to talk about Angel Reese and the team they have down there. That could be another team that could threaten the Aces. You've got Minnesota as well. So it's a wide open competition, but Aces for sure are going to be front and center of the talks.
Yeah, and sticking from the Western Conference and the WNBA, we're going to head to the NBA in the Western Conference as well, with a team that is noticeably less good in the Sacramento Kings. Russell Westbrook making his way over to Sacramento. What do we think of this?
I'm going to be honest. Probably you guys are going to disagree with me. I think that I know he's coming towards the end of his career, but I do think he's going to have a good impact on this Kings team. Last year, he averaged 27.9 minutes per game, averaged 13.3 points per game, and he played in 75 games last season, which was his most since 2021 and second most since 2017. So he's still being a productive player, and I really do think he's going to be a pretty big factor in the Sacramento Kings team. Now, how good that team does overall, I don't really know how well they're going to do, but I do think this was a good move for the Kings.
Yeah, I'm just worried about the amount of combo guards on that team. They have Zach LaVine, Malik Monk. They added Dennis Schroeder as well in the offseason. How many minutes is Russ actually going to play? That's a big question.
Yeah, believe it or not, you said we're all going to disagree. I actually agree with you. Russell Westbrook is my favorite player of all time, being a Thunder fan. I'll talk about Russ anytime. It was great to see him finally sign with the team yesterday. like you guys said, I'm not sure how much of an impact he's going to have, but I think that's okay at this point in his career. He's entering, year 17, something around there. He's content with being a bench guy. He's content with putting up, like you said, the 13 points off the bench, playing at high efficiency off the bench. And I think he knows that's his role for this Kings team. And I get the combo guards thing. That is a big concern. It is cool seeing him back with Dennis Schroeder like he was in OKC for 2 seasons. 2018 and 2019, so that'll be something to watch.
Keegan Murray's out now too, so maybe he'll be getting a few more minutes as the season starts.
But Murray also got that huge extension yesterday, 5 years, $140 million.
Right.
I don't know if
such a stupid
I
contract.
don't know if he deserves that for
Yeah.
a team that can't be giving out that big of money when they're stuck in this kind of purgatory right now.
I have 2 takeaways on that. 1, that's a lot of money, but 2, NBA money is just ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
You see guys left and right getting paid this much. It's just, I can't fathom
It's
it.
only getting crazy.
Insane. Yeah, it's only going up.
Yeah.
You're getting role players getting $30 million a year.
Right.
It's just,
Yeah. Well, it all goes back to the 2016 CBA and, the WNBA CBA talks going on. But after what happened in 2012, they said, we're getting more money in the cap. And the cap was so much higher than last season's floor. It was the floor was higher than the season prior's cap, which is just insane. But I want to touch on the Russ thing. I don't think he ever really accepted his role anywhere. Like, when he went to the Lakers, got benched, complained about it. Then he's in Denver and is still being highly utilized in the playoffs, despite the fact he hasn't been a good playoff performer in like half a decade, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, this just doesn't make sense. Why are you compounding old guy Zach LaVine, who isn't very good anymore? Old man DeMar DeRozan, who isn't very good anymore? Why are you adding to that with more old guys who really aren't that good? Like, Russ has his athleticism, he has his motor, but those go as he's getting older, and those have always been his best skill sets.
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see
And
as the season goes on.
Speaking of old guys, year 23 for LeBron James is going to be a little bit delayed as he is currently out and is going to miss the first couple weeks of the season. How do we expect the Lakers to look through those first couple of weeks? And how do we expect LeBron to look when he comes back?
Yeah, I think that Luka is going to have to carry a lot of the load until LeBron returns, similar to what he did in some years in Dallas. I mean, you have Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, DeAndre Ayton as the main supporting cast. I just don't think that's good enough for a team that wants to compete. Now, with LeBron, their time to compete is a lot better, but with no LeBron to start off the season, there's a lot of questions for sure.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I actually have a few of the same points. They're really going to need to rally around Luka. Luka's going to have to step up and kind of be that, like, almost team captain there. And also, like you mentioned, Ayton, Reeves, and Hachimura, or Ayton and Reeves are a little bit banged up. So these players are going to have to, get into a little bit better shape before the season starts. These first few weeks of the season without LeBron are very crucial for the Lakers. In a tight West, we know that we were talking about it before. There's 3-4 teams at the top of the West that we know are going to be in there. So those last, couple spots in the West are going to be really important. So this is definitely one of the more important starts of the season that the Lakers have had in a while.
Yeah, I have some of the same thoughts you guys have. One thing that I am, keeping my eye on with this is how the Lakers perform without him. The West is stacked, and it's going to be very tough for the Lakers to keep up if the rest of the guys on that roster don't step up without LeBron on the court. Obviously, Luka Doncic, he's going to have to take on a big role leading this team. I'm looking at the new guys they added, like we said, DeAndre Ayton. They also brought in Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia this offseason, so I think they're going to have to step up a little bit alongside the known guys on the team, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, so on and so on. I'm also curious to see what Dalton Connect does. I think his role will expand a little bit with LeBron off the court. And, sophomore season for him, I'm excited to see how he contributes. But it's going to be tough without their leader, you could say LeBron, even though he's not the best player on the team anymore. I'd say that's Luka at this point. LeBron is the leader. He's the veteran with the most experience. He's the guy they all rely on for sure.
I mean, it kind of seems like they're trying to transition away from that, and especially
That
with
is true.
what they've said this offseason with LeBron. He's not had talks about a contract extension. Feels like it might be his last ride with the Lakers potentially.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, like you said with Dalton Connect, I think he faded out a little bit after the trade deadline, after that trade got rescinded. to the Hornets, and he's going to need to take a sophomore leap. You see rookies take kind of a sophomore slump. I don't think he has time for that slump.
I don't think
He
100%
definitely
agree
does
with
not.
You can't take a sophomore slump if you were never that good to begin with.
Yeah.
Right.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, if you were not that good to begin with, your sophomore slump is finding yourself on a different team,
Yeah.
for sure.
And he nearly did halfway through the
Yeah.
year.
Right.
So what do we think? How do we think the Lakers are going to be this year?
I think that they're going to be competitive.
I agree.
When
I agree.
when LeBron is healthy, I think it's going to be tough for Luka to carry that team. They lacked depth last year. We'll see what their additions in the offseason do as they improve their depth, but it's still a big question mark.
Yeah, we'll get to floor and ceiling a little bit later on, but for now we're going to head over to the board and take a look at some of our sleeper teams for the 2025-2026 season. Gavin, we'll start with you.
All right. I don't really know. You guys might not really think this is a sleeper pick, but I know we did win the NBA Finals 2 seasons ago, but I'm going to go with my team, the Boston Celtics. They're a sleeper team. They've lost Porzingis, Drew Holiday, Al Horford all this offseason. They also lost Luke Cornett, who's one of my favorite players. But they also have Jason Tatum out for the majority of the season. We'll see when he comes back. But so far, this preseason, we've been looking pretty good. We've got Simons has been playing well in the preseason, and we got Keita playing at center, who will be a nice replacement for Horford. So, yeah, this is going to be my team, the Boston Celtics, as a sleeper. I don't know what you guys think about that, but
I know what you were saying before the
Again,
episode.
I have to ask, a team that won the NBA Finals 2 years ago, sleeper team, how?
I just, okay, I think people thought that the Celtics wouldn't be in the position they are in right now. I didn't really think that the Celtics were going to lose Porzingis, Drew Holiday, all these players, Horford, all in the same offseason. I mean, I think even after last season, I feel like I was still hoping for another year this year to be able to go after a championship, but it just doesn't really seem like that is going to happen. But after what I've been seeing so far this preseason, I'm feeling a little bit more hopeful.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown will definitely have to prove
I
he's the
understand
number
your
one
argument.
option.
Yeah.
I do.
I get it from the standpoint of the expectations are where they normally
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, but this team's going to be a lot different. And
Yeah.
like you said, Tatum's going to be out for a while. They lost a lot of players, so they might have to reestablish themselves a little bit this year.
It'll be fun to watch, though.
Yeah,
Definitely
for
fun
sure.
to watch.
All right, Owen, you're up next.
Yep. I'm sticking in the same conference. I got the Atlanta Hawks. I think they're set up beautifully. They vastly improved in the offseason, and surrounding Trae Young with guys like Kristaps Porzingis, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Luke Kennard as their offseason additions, I think is going to help a lot. This is the blueprint of how you surround an offensive-minded star in Trae Young with guys that can space the floor and be versatile on the defensive end. You got Zachary Reese-Lachey entering his second season. You got Jalen Johnson, who's coming off a shoulder injury last season. I think he could be a sleeper all-star. And I think they're set up greatly in the Eastern Conference with all the conference's injuries, especially with Boston and teams like Indiana with that Tyrese Halliburton injury. I think Atlanta will be set up beautifully and could definitely be a sleeper team in this conference.
Yeah, I almost picked them. They did really well this offseason. Trae Young, he's obviously a beast, and now they got Porzingis to help him out. I think they're really going to be a threat this year in the East, in the wide open East. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Trae Young's such a fun player.
Yeah, especially because now you don't have to watch Trae Young play defense.
Exactly.
Because you surround him with those types of perimeter defenders. A little bit worried about Quinn Snyder because Quinn Snyder's not really a good coach, but
Right.
the floor for the Hawks is a lot higher than
Yes.
it's been previously. Adam,
Yeah.
who do you have for your
right.
sleeper team?
Well, we're going to shout out Colin Wells a little bit more here, and we're going to go with his favorite team. We're going to talk about the Orlando Magic, a team that went 41-41 last year, right at 500, finished as the number 7 seed in the Eastern Conference, a little bit lower than some people, including myself, were expecting them to preseason. They lost in the first round to the Celtics. I believe that was in 5 games. It might be 6. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It was 5.
It was 5. Okay, so I'm right there. But they had a big offseason. They made a splash, getting Desmond Bane from the Memphis Grizzlies. trading Cole Anthony, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a bunch of first-round picks in that trade. Also brought in Tyus Jones in free agency, drafted Jace Richardson. I love that pick. The East is wide open, as I was saying, I think, before the show to you guys. So I could really see Orlando making a jump to a top 3-4 seed in this conference. I mean, the Cavs and the Knicks, to me, are the established top 2, but I could see Orlando being right behind them this year.
Yeah, absolutely. With Orlando, they really just needed that scoring punch, and I feel like you got that, especially with Jace Richardson, and then again when they brought in Desmond Bane.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be fun to watch this year. I'm really excited to watch the Magic.
Just please don't have 10 oblique injuries again.
Keep Paulo Banchero healthy.
Yeah, for sure.
And they all had the same injury.
Yeah.
So weird.
So bizarre.
What were they doing down in Orlando? I probably don't want to know if it's... Moving on, sticking with the East and the fact that the conference is a disaster may leave the door open for some magic for my sleeper team, the Charlotte Hornets. This is a Hornets team that, when healthy, has some really fun players on it. You have LaMelo Ball, who is now surrounded with the type of shooting help that he needs in order to be successful. You have Brandon Miller getting another year under his belt. You bring in Kneppel from the draft, one of the best shooters out of this draft class, and then they get a guy who is a little bit of a sneaky first-round pick, kind of fits into this category, Liam McNeely, a top 20 recruit coming out of high school last year. Ankle injury derailed him a little bit at UConn, but I think he's absolutely somebody that could step in and give the Hornets a chance. Now, this kind of works twofold because I think the Hornets could be a sleeper team and be really fun, or deal with injuries like they do and put you to sleep. But one way or another, they are a sleeper team.
I like what you did at the end there. I thought that was clever.
Yeah, because I don't know that the Hornets are going to be good, but they're going to be entertaining.
Yeah, they definitely could be fun when healthy. I just think when healthy is a big question mark. LaMelo Ball seems to have an injury every season.
Right.
Yeah, something's always going on.
Yeah, it's always something. But moving on now from our sleeper teams to teams that have a wide variety of expectations. We're going to take a look at the floor and the ceiling of several NBA contenders or pretenders. Which one are they? We're going to talk about it right now. So let's start. Do we have to start with the Sixers? Can we not talk about Sixers basketball? I kid. You can listen to Party on Broad Street for that Fridays from 10:30 to 11. But we're going to start with the Sixers, a team that deals with injuries as often I deal with making terrible jokes. What do we think the floor for the Sixers team is?
I would say the floor is they don't make the playoffs. Joel's hurt, and at the end of the season, he's on a different team. I think the Sixers are getting to that point. I mean, they've had Joel on their team for however many years now. They haven't really seen any. They haven't seen any championships, and it just seems every year it's always something. He's sitting on the bench. He's not getting as many minutes. He's hurt. He's doing this. He's doing that. But I do think their ceiling is he stays healthy. They get Paul George healthy. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey, we've seen the past few years. He's an absolute baller. So if they're healthy, I see them making it into the playoffs, but not really making a deep run.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think their floor is basically what happened last season. You had a ton of young guys step up and show potential, and then you have all your veterans getting injured. And if you have your veterans getting injured, they're not going to be able to lead the young guys, and you're not going to have a great team. But I think they could definitely be a sneaky first-round upset team where they're fighting in the playoffs in the first round with a great Eastern Conference competitor.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I have them for the floor as a non-playoff team. It's really interesting with them this year. Jared McCain, we already know, is going to miss some time, so you're already putting some pressure on VJ Edgecombe, who was that third overall pick in the draft. We know the injury concern with Joel Embiid. I think I read today that Paul George is going to miss the start of the season. You're already down some key guys, so it's going to be tough, but if you can get everybody back healthy and keep them healthy, I think they could be a sneaky team, sneak into the playoffs this year.
I think my floor for the Sixers is pretty much what happened last year. 24 wins, maybe even less, but I feel like you're better prepared for that this time around. But the floor is definitely miss the playoffs, miss the play-in, and then the ceiling, I think they could be a top 3 contender in the East, especially because it's so wide open. Now, once they get there, do things go well? Probably not. But I think this team has one of the highest differences in their floor and ceiling of anybody in the NBA. Now going out west, the Spurs. What do we think of the Spurs? Where are their floor and ceiling?
I'm excited about this one. I'll let you guys in on a little secret. My MVP pick this year is Victor Wembanyama. I really think he's going to take a massive leap. I could see this team being as high as one of the top teams in the West, maybe a top 4 seed. They get home court advantage in the first round. But I could also see them maybe underplaying those expectations and being toward the bottom of the play-in picture. Either way, I think after regular season basketball ends, they're still going to be playing. And they're going to be on the court, whether that's trying to make a playoff spot or hosting a first-round matchup.
Yeah, I agree with you. I said the floor is like a 500 season, so I definitely think they'll be above 500. Like you said, I think Wembanyama, I mean, he's coming off last year. He had to miss the end of the season, but I think he's going to have a really, really good year. I mean, this guy's being talked about as like maybe going to be one of the greatest players ever. So, I mean, we've seen signs of that, but we haven't really fully seen it yet. I think this is the year that we see it. And I think their ceiling is, I think they could definitely make a deep run into the playoffs. So, I think it's going to be a really fun year for them.
Yeah, I would say their ceiling, I think they're a year away from actually competing in the Western Conference. That Western Conference is so loaded with a bunch of talented teams. I think they could be a competitive first-round team where the young stars surrounding Wemby can break out. Dylan Harper, you got De'Aaron Fox, obviously as a veteran, but Wemby definitely going to be an MVP candidate, definitely going to have the stat line for that, but I think a 6-game series in the first round and losing it would definitely be a successful season and a step in the right direction for them.
Yeah.
Absolutely could be. The floor for this team feels like the play-in because the Western Conference is just so loaded that every team really outside of the Jazz feels like they could be in that play-in, playoff conversation type deal. And then the ceiling, I think, for them is like a top 5 seed. Don't necessarily know if you're going to crack the top 3 of Houston, Denver, and OKC. So, probably maybe host a first round home court advantage, but I don't think they're going to do much more than that. And then we're going to go to New York. That's where we go next. The Knicks.
I would say this team can make the finals. I think that's their ceiling. It's a weak Eastern Conference with all the injuries, and their floor would be a competitive playoff team and a disappointing end to the season. I think they're definitely in the playoffs. I think they're competing for the championship, and I think it's a disappointment if they're not.
But doesn't that always happen to the Knicks?
I guess so.
Yeah.
You saw that last year.
Yeah.
It was wide open at the end because you thought, Celtics were the top team.
Yeah.
It's wide open for the Knicks. Then you had Indiana roll around, and they lost. So.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I think they're definitely going to make the playoffs. How far they make it, I don't know. I think Cat's got to stay healthy too. Brunson, same thing. He's always got some injury problems with his ankles and stuff like that. But yeah, this is a really good team. I mean, we saw this last year. They beat my Celtics, which was heartbreaking. But I think their ceiling is probably making it to the championship, like you said. But I can see this team falling apart and maybe even fighting for a play-in spot. But that's if things really do go wrong.
I'm really high on the Knicks this year. I think the floor is a top 4 seed and they host a first-round matchup like number 4. Ceiling is absolutely top seed in the East and they make the finals. I don't think they win it because you can call me biased, but I think OKC is going back-to-back. But I could definitely see New York in the finals, giving the Thunder a run for their money and really pushing to try and win a championship.
Who do you think that the teams the Knicks would be playing, or the team the Knicks would be playing in the Eastern Conference Finals?
If I had to make a bet right now, I would say Cleveland or Orlando.
Yeah.
Maybe Detroit.
Yeah.
Cleveland's frauds.
You think so?
They're a regular season team.
We saw that last year too.
Yeah.
with
We
the
did
CAA
every year.
playoffs, yeah.
Yeah, I'm also
Darius
worried.
Garland's not good.
I'm also
in the
worried
playoffs.
about the Knicks' depth. Malcolm Brogdon just retired.
That's true.
I
That
mean-
was their third string point guard, though.
He was going to make the roster.
Yeah, he was
though.
going to make
I
the
did see
roster,
that.
and there's not really much. There's not. You question the depth there. It was questioned last playoff run with Tom Thibodeau playing basically only 7-8 guys in the lineup, and you got to play more than that if you want to make a deep playoff.
You
run.
know,
Well, this year that problem got fixed. You have Deuce McBride. You bring in Mike Brown, who plays his bench a lot more than Tom Thibodeau does, although every coach does. You bring in Jordan Clarkson, you bring in Gershon Yabusele. I think they have the depth this time to sort of withstand that roster attrition issue that they've had the last couple of years. And I think their ceiling is winning it all. I do think this team has the depth, has the coaching, has the key players to be able to win it all. And I don't think they're anything worse than a top 5 seed. Like, like, obviously excluding major injuries. I think your worst case scenario is probably like a 6 seed, but that's the Knicks. And now out to the retirement home in LA, aka the Clippers.
Yeah, this is it's going to be an interesting year for them. They got CP3. They got Bradley Beal too. So they got those 2 old guys. I really don't see this team doing that much this year. I mean, like we've been talking about, the West is pretty competitive, maybe fighting for a play-in spot, but I will say CP3, my favorite player. First ever basketball shoes I owned were CP3s. So I've always been a fan of him. I hope he does well, but he's just too old, and the team doesn't really have much around him. So
Yeah, I would say their ceiling is probably similar to last year. You didn't expect much out of the Clippers last year, but going into this season, old players, a lot of veterans. If those veteran players mesh, I think they could definitely be a mid-tier playoff team. But if they're derailed by injuries, with Kawhi Leonard being an injury-prone player and their old veterans are just aging and don't shine, this is definitely a team that can miss the playoffs.
You know, one thing I notice about the Clippers every year is they always seem to figure it out, even if their roster just doesn't stack up to the top teams. They were a number 5 seed last year, and I could definitely see them being in the top 5, maybe even a little higher, if teams like Denver, Minnesota, Houston underperform a little bit. Not that that's going to happen, but just saying it's a possibility. But the lowest I would probably put the Clippers is a play-in team toward the top of the play-in picture, 7 seed, 8 seed, a team that's going to be fighting for a playoff spot and definitely is going to make it in and could give the number 1 seed a run. But I think the Clippers could be just fine, even though they're very old. I think they could figure it out.
I agree with you. They always sneak in, but they never end up doing anything after that. You know what I mean?
Right.
They might win their first round and move on to the second round, but then they're gone. Like it's every year they never really make any progress. But maybe this year's their year.
They went to 7 with Denver last year, and you thought
that was a good series.
You thought they were meshing and they were going to be consistent and could be a scary playoff team for the Thunder to face in the second round, but they just collapsed in that Game 7.
Mm-hmm.
James Harden, right? that game for James Harden was just brutal.
Yeah, that sent us spiraling into the offseason where there were some big acquisitions. So let's take a really, really quick look at each of our favorite offseason acquisitions.
Yeah, so I think I'm up first. I got Kevin Durant going to the Houston Rockets. I don't know. I think last year we saw the Rockets kind of gain some ground after their 500 season 2 years ago. So I think them getting KD is going to push them over the edge and really make them a better team. He's getting old, I know, but he averaged 26.6 points per game, 6 rebounds, and a little over 4 assists. So I really do think that this trade was the biggest one this offseason.
Yeah, I'm going to go with an underrated trade that happened in the Western Conference, an Eastern Conference player going to the Western Conference. Cam Johnson replaced MPJ. I think he's an overall better player, more consistent player than MPJ was, and I think he can be this year for the Denver Nuggets. Had his best season statistically in 2024 with the Nets, and he's a great complementary fit in that Denver Nuggets system. Unlike MPJ, ball movement isn't over when Johnson has the ball in his hands, and with MPJ, he was the guy. When he had the ball, he was going to shoot it. I think with Cam Johnson, it's going to be ball movement, ball movement, ball movement.
I'm going to highlight somebody that may not be playing this year, but it's still worth talking about. My player that I chose is Damian Lillard. Oh, wait, this Desmond Bane. There's Damian Lillard. Okay, pretty under-the-radar move I think a lot of people forgot about. He left the Milwaukee Bucks. He was released after they signed Miles Turner. Went back to his first team that he played for, the Portland Trailblazers. 2026 to 27 will be year 12 with Portland and his first year with them since 2022-23. He was hurt, but he's still a good player, guys. Averaged near 25 points last year, almost 5 rebounds, 7 assists, was an all-star. I'm looking forward to his comeback, and I'm excited to see the impact he makes for this Portland Trailblazers team a year from now.
Yeah, especially on such a young team. And then a little bit of a spoiler for mine. We're going to go with Desmond Bane from the Orlando Magic. Shout out Colin Wells. Orlando desperately needed to get shooting in there. You get a guy who shoots 48% from the field, 40% from 3. Not much more you could do to upgrade there, especially from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who was not good last year at all. But that's going to do it for this edition of 360 Sports. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and make sure to come back next week for another week of 360 shows.